Welcome to the Ask Junior Daily Judgment podcast. I'm Priya Sharma, and joining me today is Arjun Gupta.
Hello, everyone. We're excited to dive into today's important judgments. But before we begin, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our podcast if you enjoy our daily legal breakdowns.
That's right. Your support helps us reach more listeners and continue providing in-depth analysis of the latest court decisions. Now, let's get started with today's cases. Our case today is Ashok versus State of Uttar Pradesh, a criminal appeal heard by the Supreme Court of India.
This case is truly heartbreaking. It involves the tragic death of a 10-year-old girl in Uttar Pradesh. Let's go through the facts.
The victim, along with her cousin, went to a pasture to graze goats on May 27, 2009. The victim became thirsty and approached the tube-well cabin where the appellant, Ashok, was working as an operator.
The prosecution alleges that Ashok, with evil intentions, took the victim inside the cabin, raped her, and then murdered her. The victim's cousin witnessed the incident, and her father, upon being informed, found the victim's body hidden in a haystack in the cabin.
The trial court in 2012 found Ashok guilty of rape, murder, and concealing the body. They also found him guilty under the Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989, as the victim belonged to a scheduled caste. He was sentenced to death.
However, the High Court, while upholding the conviction, overturned the death sentence and replaced it with life imprisonment. This is where the Supreme Court's decision comes into play.
The Supreme Court in this appeal focuses on the question of whether the evidence against Ashok is sufficient to uphold his conviction.
The court meticulously analyzes the testimony of the prosecution witnesses, particularly the victim's cousin, who is the only eyewitness. The court found that there are significant discrepancies between the testimony of the cousin and the father, who was told about the incident by the cousin.
This raises serious questions about the reliability of the eyewitness account. The court also notes that the cousin was a minor at the time of the incident and that his statement was recorded 2.5 years later.
There's a strong possibility of the cousin being tutored, especially considering the gap between the incident and the recording of his statement.
The court also examines the alleged recovery of the victim's slippers and underwear at Ashok's instance. However, the court finds that the recovery memo lacks crucial details about the time and place of recovery. This casts doubt on the authenticity of the evidence.
Additionally, the court notes that the prosecution failed to prove that bloodstains found on Ashok's undergarments belonged to the victim.
This leads us to the critical issue of the appellant's examination under Section 313 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, CRPC. This section mandates that the court must put to the accused every incriminating circumstance appearing against him in the evidence.
The court finds a major flaw in this process. The incriminating circumstances, including the testimony of the main prosecution witnesses, were never put to Ashok during his examination.
This is a serious violation of his right to defend himself. The court cites a previous case, Raj Kumar versus State and Seat of Delhi, where they established that failing to put material circumstances to the accused amounts to a serious irregularity, potentially vitiating the trial.
To understand this better, imagine you're accused of stealing a watch. The police find the watch at your house. The prosecution should bring this evidence to your attention and ask you to explain how it ended up there. If they don't, you have no chance to counter their claims.
Exactly. In Ashok's case, the court notes that the trial court overlooked this crucial step, failing to put the incriminating circumstances to the accused.
The court emphasizes that this omission caused prejudice to the accused. Even assuming that the eyewitness testimony could be believed, the court concludes that Ashok is entitled to acquittal due to the procedural irregularity.
This decision highlights the vital importance of following the procedure established by law.
It's a powerful reminder that even in the face of seemingly strong evidence, the law requires a fair trial.
Now, let's delve into the court's reasoning for this decision.
The court, emphasizing the long passage of time since the incident, concluded that it would be unjust to remand the case back to the trial court for a supplementary statement from Ashok.
It is important to note that the incident occurred in 2009 and Ashok was incarcerated for almost 13 years before being released on bail. Remanding the case back after such a long time would be impractical and potentially detrimental to Ashok's right to a fair trial.
The court also makes a strong point about the responsibility of the public prosecutor in ensuring a fair trial.
This is where the court brings up Section 3 through 5 of the CRPC, which states that the court can seek the assistance of the public prosecutor and the accused advocate to prepare the questions to be put to the accused during examination.
The court highlights that the public prosecutor has a duty to ensure that all incriminating material is put to the accused, assisting the court in framing the questions for the examination.
This is crucial for a fair trial because the public prosecutor represents the state and is supposed to uphold the law.
This brings us to another crucial aspect of the case, the failure to provide legal aid to Ashok.
The court emphasizes the constitutional right to legal aid guaranteed by Article 21 of the Constitution of India. This right is further reinforced by Section 304 of the CRPC, which mandates that the court must provide a lawyer to the accused if they lack sufficient means to engage one.
It's concerning to see that Ashok was not represented by an advocate at crucial stages of the trial, including when the charges were framed and when evidence was recorded.
The court notes that Ashok was not offered legal aid, and his requests for legal aid were not fully met. This highlights a systemic failure within the legal system in providing effective legal aid to the accused.
The court makes several recommendations in this judgment. It emphasizes that the right to legal aid is not simply about providing a lawyer, but about ensuring that the lawyer is competent and can effectively represent the accused.
This is a very important point. The court suggests that in cases involving potentially life-threatening sentences, lawyers with significant experience on the criminal side should be appointed as legal aid lawyers.
The court also suggests that legal aid lawyers should receive proper training and be monitored to ensure they are attending court regularly and performing their duties effectively.
The court also underscores the importance of consistency in legal representation, suggesting that the same legal aid lawyer should be appointed throughout the trial unless there are compelling reasons for a change.
The court's judgment emphasizes that the right to legal aid is fundamental to a fair trial. Without effective legal aid, the accused cannot adequately defend themselves, leading to a violation of their fundamental rights.
This case is a strong reminder of the importance of upholding procedural justice in our legal system.
The Supreme Court's judgment in Ashok v. State of Uttar Pradesh is a significant development. It emphasizes the importance of proper legal aid and the procedural safeguards that must be followed in every criminal trial.
And that wraps up our analysis of today's judgment. We hope you found our discussion informative and engaging.
Before we sign off, we'd like to remind our listeners once again to like, subscribe, and share our podcast. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue bringing you daily updates on the most important legal decisions.
Absolutely. And don't forget to tune in tomorrow for another exciting episode. Until then, this is Priya Sharma.
And Arjun Gupta, signing off. Thanks for listening to the Ask Junior Daily Judgment podcast.